Jason, I have a confession to make, and I need you to not judge me.
The last time someone said that to me, it involved a very regrettable haircut decision, so go ahead.
Last Monday, I had the most perfect morning plan, written down, color-coded, everything scheduled to the minute.
Oh no, color-coded. This already sounds like it ends badly.
By 10 a.m., I had reorganized my entire bookshelf. By 11 a.m., I had cleaned things that did not need cleaning. By noon, I had done everything except the actual plan.
The plan was just watching from a distance the whole time.
Just sitting there perfectly color-coded, completely ignored.
And the worst part of that feeling is not that you wasted the morning, the worst part is what comes after.
The guilt, the why can't I just do the thing, convincing yourself that something is fundamentally wrong with you.
And then the next day you make a new plan, even more color-coded, even more detailed, determined that this time will be different.
Even more colors, as if the problem was that Monday's plan only had 4 colors and clearly needed 6.
6 colors minimum, very motivating, completely ineffective.
And this cycle, the planning and the failing and the guilt and the new planning, is something almost every person on Earth knows intimately.
Because motivation is one of those things that everybody wants, everybody talks about, and almost nobody actually understands.
We treat it like a feeling that either shows up or doesn't, like weather. You either wake up motivated or you don't, and if you don't, well, better luck tomorrow.
But what if motivation is not a feeling at all? What if everything most people believe about it is actually backwards?
That question, right there, is what today is entirely about.
Hey, English learners! Welcome back to the English Connect podcast, your cozy little place to learn real English through conversations that actually change how you think. I'm Jason.
And I'm Sophia. So genuinely happy you are here today because this one is personal, this one is practical, and this one might completely change your relationship with one of the most misunderstood forces in everyday life.
Today, we are talking about how to stay motivated every day. Not the highlight reel version, not the wake up at 5 a.m. and conquer the world version, the real version, the version that works for actual human beings with actual complicated lives.
By the end of this conversation, you will understand what motivation actually is, why it disappears at the worst moments, and what genuinely keeps people going when the feeling is nowhere to be found.
And we will break down 5 powerful vocabulary words and phrases from today's conversation to sharpen your English.
But right now, before anything else, your answer in the comments, immediately. Don't wait until the end. Complete this sentence. The thing I keep losing motivation for is... Write it honestly. Write it specifically. We read every single one, and we promise whatever you write, someone else is sitting with the exact same thing right now.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, Jason, let's start by completely dismantling the biggest myth about motivation, because I think it is the reason most people struggle with it their entire lives.
What is the myth?
That motivation is something you need to have before you start, that the feeling comes first and the action follows.
I'll do it when I feel motivated. That sentence, which almost everyone has said about almost everything.
And it sounds completely logical. You need to feel ready before you begin. You need the energy before you spend it.
But here's what actually happens when you wait for motivation to arrive before you act.
It doesn't arrive.
It does not arrive. It never arrives. You wait, and you reorganize your bookshelf, and you check your phone, and suddenly it is 6 p.m.
And the motivation is still somewhere in the distance, waving at you, completely unreachable.
Because motivation is not a cause, it is a result.
Say that again. I think people need to hear that clearly.
Motivation is not what causes action. Motivation is what results from action. You do not feel motivated and then start. You start and then you feel motivated.
The action creates the feeling, not the other way around.
And once you genuinely understand that, everything about how you approach difficult days changes completely.
Because you stop waiting to feel ready. You stop asking, do I feel like doing this today? You just begin, even badly, even reluctantly, even with zero enthusiasm.
And something happens the moment you begin, even a small, imperfect beginning.
What happens?
Momentum. a tiny, almost unnoticeable shift that makes the next step slightly easier than the first.
And the next step easier than that. And slowly, without any dramatic transformation, you are moving.
And the feeling that you were waiting for at the beginning arrives naturally once you are already in motion.
Which is why the people who seem most consistently motivated are not people who feel inspired every morning.
They're people who have learned to start without the feeling, to act in the absence of motivation until the motivation catches up.
Now, I want to talk about something that I think is even deeper than the action first principle, because I think there is a reason why motivation disappears so reliably, and it has nothing to do with laziness.
What is it?
Most people are trying to stay motivated for things that are not actually connected to what they genuinely care about.
Oh, that one lands differently.
They're motivated by what they think they should want, what looks impressive from the outside, what other people are doing, what the most productive version of themselves would theoretically want.
But not necessarily what they actually, deeply, personally care about.
And you can force yourself toward things you don't care about for a while. Discipline and willpower can carry you for a period.
But eventually, always, the motivation collapses because you cannot sustain energy towards something that does not genuinely matter to you.
So before anything else, the most important question is not how do I stay motivated? It is what am I actually trying to stay motivated for? And does it genuinely matter to me?
And the honest answer to that question for a lot of people is uncomfortable.
Because sometimes the answer is, this goal was never really mine. I borrowed it from someone else's life.
And borrowed goals have borrowed energy. They run out.
But your own goals, the ones connected to something real inside you, those have a different quality of energy behind them.
They pull instead of push. There's a difference between being pushed towards something by obligation and being pulled towards something by genuine desire.
Pushed motivation is exhausting. Pulled motivation is almost effortless.
Not always easy, but effortless in the sense that you don't have to manufacture it. It is already there.
So the first real question of motivation is not a productivity question. It's a values question. What do I actually care about? And is what I'm doing connected to that?
Now, let's talk about the practical side. Because even with the right goals, even with genuine connection to what you are pursuing, every single person has days where the motivation is just not there.
The flat days, the gray days, the days when everything feels difficult and pointless and you cannot remember why you started.
And those days are not a sign that something has gone wrong. They are part of every meaningful pursuit, no exceptions.
So what do you do on those days? Specifically, practically, the first thing, and this one sounds almost too simple, is to make the starting task embarrassingly small.
Embarrassingly small. I love that phrase. Not, I will work for 2 hours today. On a flat day, the goal is, I will open the document. That's it. Just open it.
Because the brain resists large tasks when energy is low, but it cannot argue with opening a document.
And once the document is open, something usually happens. You write one sentence, then another, and suddenly 10 minutes have passed and you're actually working.
The task was never the problem. The starting was the problem, and embarrassingly small starting removes the resistance from starting.
The second thing, and this one changed everything for me personally, is to stop measuring motivation by feeling and start measuring it by behavior.
What do you mean?
On a flat day, you will not feel motivated. That's the nature of a flat day. But you can still behave in motivated ways.
You can still open the document. You can still make the call. You can still do the small thing even while feeling completely uninspired.
And at the end of that day, instead of saying, I wasn't motivated today, you can say, I did the work even when I wasn't motivated.
And that distinction between feeling and behavior is where genuine discipline lives.
Discipline is not the absence of flat days. Discipline is what you do on flat days.
The third thing, and I think this is the most underrated tool for daily motivation, is having a very clear picture of why. Not what you want to achieve, why it matters to you.
Because on the hard days, on the flat days, On the days when the task feels pointless, the what is not enough to keep you going.
The what is just the goal. The why is the reason the goal matters, and reasons are what move people when feelings don't.
So write your why down somewhere, not the impressive version, not the version that sounds good to other people, the personal version, the one that's actually true.
I am doing this because I want to provide something better for my family, because I want to prove to myself that I can, because this is the thing that makes me feel most alive.
And on the flat days, you go back to that, not to the goal, to the reason behind the goal.
Because goals can feel distant on hard days, but your why, if it's genuinely yours, is always close.
Now, I want to address something that I think causes enormous unnecessary suffering around motivation, and it is the comparison trap.
Tell me.
Social media has made it possible to watch other people's motivated moments all day, every day. Their 5 a.m. workouts, their productivity reels, their "look how much I got done today" posts.
And if you're having a flat day and you consume that, something happens to you.
You feel not just unmotivated, but broken, like everyone else has figured something out that you fundamentally cannot access.
But here's what you're not seeing. You're seeing their highlight reel on your worst day. You are not seeing their flat days, their canceled plans, their reorganized bookshelves.
They're color-coded plans that went completely ignored by 10 a.m.
Every single person has those days. Every person you admire, every person who looks consistently motivated from the outside.
The difference is not that they don't have flat days. The difference is that they don't let flat days become flat weeks.
They have systems, not just feelings. They have small habits that keep them moving even when the inspiration is completely absent.
And habits are the secret underneath all of this. Because motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. It cannot be scheduled.
But habits can be scheduled. Habits show up whether you feel like it or not.
So, the most motivated people are not the most inspired people. They're the people who have built small, consistent habits that carry them through the uninspired days.
The habit does not wait for the feeling. The habit just happens, and the feeling follows eventually.
Always imperfectly, always a little messily, but it follows. Now, the last thing I want to say before we move on, and I think this is the thing that ties everything together.
Say it.
You are allowed to have flat days and still be a motivated person. Those two things are not in conflict.
Having a day where nothing works and everything feels heavy does not mean you have lost your motivation permanently.
It means you are a human being having a human day, and human days include flat ones.
The motivated person is not the one who is always energized. The motivated person is the one who, on the flat days, does the small thing anyway.
Opens the document, makes the call, takes the one step.
And who understands that one small step on a flat day is worth more than 10 inspired steps on a good day?
Because anyone can move when they feel like it. The real skill, the one that changes everything, is moving when you don't.
And that skill is available to every single person listening right now, not someday, today, on whatever kind of day today is.
One step. That is all. One embarrassingly small step.
And then another, and then one more.
That is what motivation actually looks like from the inside.
All right, everyone, let's break down 5 powerful words and phrases from today's conversation to sharpen your English.
First, momentum.
Momentum means the force or energy that builds when something is already moving, making it easier to keep going. In today's conversation, we used it to describe what happens the moment you begin something, even imperfectly. A tiny momentum builds that makes the next step easier than the first. You can say, she didn't feel motivated at all when she started, but after 10 minutes, the momentum carried her through the whole morning.
So, momentum is the hidden reward of starting, even badly, even reluctantly. Let's repeat it slowly. Momentum. Momentum.
Now let's look at a phrase for the inner force that pulls you towards something because it genuinely matters to you.
Intrinsic motivation.
Intrinsic motivation means motivation that comes from inside you, from genuine interest, personal values, or real meaning, not from external rewards like money, approval, or recognition. You can say, once she found work connected to what she actually cared about, her intrinsic motivation made discipline almost unnecessary.
Or, The difference between the people who stuck with it and the people who quit was almost always intrinsic motivation. Those who stayed had a personal reason that went deeper than the external goal.
So intrinsic motivation is the sustainable kind, the kind that does not run out when the external rewards disappear. Let's repeat it. Intrinsic motivation.
Intrinsic motivation.
Now let's take a word for the consistent behaviors that carry you forward even when the feeling is not there.
Discipline.
Discipline means the ability to do what needs to be done consistently, regardless of how you feel in the moment. It's often confused with motivation, but they are very different. Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is a behavior. You can say, he wasn't always motivated, but his discipline meant the work happened anyway, on good days and flat ones.
Or, discipline is not about being hard on yourself. It's about making a decision in advance about what you will do so that the decision doesn't have to be made again on a difficult day.
So discipline is what picks up where motivation leaves off, and it's buildable by anyone. Let's repeat it. Discipline.
Discipline.
Now let's look at a phrase for the invisible force that stops you from starting even when you genuinely want to.
Resistance.
Resistance is the inner pushback, the friction, the inexplicable force that makes starting feel harder than it should be. It's not laziness and it's not lack of ability. It's the natural friction between where you are and where you want to go. You can say, she felt enormous resistance every time she sat down to write, not because she didn't want to, but because starting always felt harder than continuing.
Or, understanding resistance changed everything for him. Instead of interpreting it as a sign he shouldn't do the thing, he learned to see it as a sign he was about to do something that mattered.
So resistance is not your enemy, it's information, and making the task embarrassingly small is how you lower it enough to begin. Let's repeat it. Resistance.
Resistance.
And our final phrase, the one that describes the daily practice of moving forward even when everything feels difficult.
Showing up.
Showing up means being present and doing the work consistently, regardless of mood, energy level, or inspiration. It's the unglamorous daily act of doing the thing even on the days when you don't feel like it. You can say, talent matters, but what actually built her career was showing up every day when others waited to feel inspired.
Or, showing up doesn't mean showing up perfectly. It means showing up at all, with whatever you have on that particular day.
So showing up is perhaps the most powerful motivational tool of all because it's available every single day to every single person. Let's repeat it. Showing up.
Showing up.
These words and phrases will help you understand, talk about, and practice motivation in a much more honest and effective way.
Choose one or two, use them this week, and notice how much clearer your thinking becomes when the right language is there.
Jason, after everything today, honestly, where are you sitting with it?
Honestly, I keep thinking about Monday and the bookshelf and the color-coded plan, and I realize I was waiting to feel ready before I started.
And now?
Now, I know the feeling was never going to arrive before the start. I had to start to find the feeling.
And that one shift, genuinely understood, changes how every future Monday goes.
So, here's your challenge. Specific, honest, and we want you to do it today. Not next week, today.
Think about the one thing you keep losing motivation for, the one that has been sitting there, waiting, and ask yourself, what's the most embarrassingly small version of starting that thing I could do right now?
Not the full plan, not the complete version. Just the open the document version, and then do it. Today.
And then come tell us in the comments, what was the small thing? What happened when you did it? We are reading every single comment, and we are genuinely rooting for you.
If today reached somewhere real for you, share this with one person who is waiting to feel motivated before they begin. You don't need to explain why you're sending it. Just send it.
Subscribe, leave us a comment, and stay with us. We are here every single day.
And here's what we want you to carry today.
Motivation is not coming to rescue you this morning. It's not going to arrive at your door fully formed, ready to carry you through the day. It never works that way. It has never worked that way. But here's what's true. There's something inside you right now that cares about something, a goal, a dream, a direction, a quiet pull towards something that matters to you. And that pull, however faint it feels today, is enough to take one step, just one, not the whole journey. One embarrassingly small step toward the thing that matters. And when you take it, something shifts. Not dramatically, not immediately, but it shifts. The momentum begins, and the motivation you were waiting for shows up exactly where it always was, on the other side of starting. So start today with whatever you have, in whatever state you're in. One step. That is the whole secret. That is all it's ever been.
This is Jason.
And this is Sophia, signing off from the English Connect podcast. Bye.
Keep learning, keep growing. And that color-coded plan sitting on your desk right now? Open it. Start with just one thing. The rest will follow.